and welcome to Rich Girl. Thanks for joining us today. I just got back from a wonderful trip with my daughters and granddaughters. And so, in preparation for this live event today, that you can capture anytime you want, and I definitely encourage that. I want to talk about adversity today. And I want to talk to you about this because I think that it's a perfect subject for what we are experiencing and what we have experienced. So while on this daughter's trip this last week, I asked my daughters to give me some tips on what they believed helped them to overcome adversities. And the first response that I got was, if a baby could talk, she would cry until she get what she wants. Okay, I thought that was pretty funny. But then it got a little bit more serious, and they said that when someone says you cannot do something, then just find a way. If popular opinion is that you do not want to do something this way or that way, then release that with what other people are saying and find your own way. So restrictions actually can fan the flame of creativity. This is their words. Don't you love it? Asking yourself the question of how the mind is directed and finds up and frees up ways to make possibilities happen. Another one of my daughters said that after that, she said, choose your own adventure. Choose your own adventures. When you have an obstacle and adversity stopping you, choose the way that you want to respond. And that ties in perfectly what the subject is today. So look at what you can control. And that many times is going to be the small steps over time that make a huge difference. So after hearing their ideas, I realized once more that, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I raised up my daughters and my sons in an entrepreneurial home where you really have to take a look at how you think. Yeah, you do. And you also have to be very aware of your emotions, because we know that when we're in business, the things we talk about, we definitely bring about. So now I'm going to share with you a real live story. A real life story that happened to me, and you're going to see some different characters in here. So I want to open it up with the first player. So the first player is my father, and he was a very rough and tough man. Now, many of you know that I am retired from Mary Kay Cosmetics now as a senior national sales director, emeriti, and I had a lot of experiences with an incredible company. And I speak to you from Rich Girl platform now for really anyone who wants to really have a more rich life. But this story is really specific to Mary Kay because it has her in it. So if you want to just pretend for a second that you might be in my place, I wonder what you would do. Okay, so let's go back to my dad. Rough, tough guy, right? And he had softened quite a bit after my mother had come into the company. And in his truck were all of Mary Kay Ash's Pearls of Wisdom CDs. And there were many of them. And he would listen to them over and over and over again. Well, my mother had earned a top director's trip. And of course, we were going together because I was also a top director. And we were both really excited to be the first mother daughter on a top director trip. And while sitting on these beautiful beaches in Bahamas, eating a stunning lobster feast, my dad leaned over to me and said something that absolutely stunned me. He said, I'm going to go over to Mary Kay and introduce myself, and I'm going to kiss her. Oh, well, not was I stunned, but I got to my feet really fast. And as strong as I could possibly grab his hand, and I pleaded for him not to do this. I said, no, Dad, this is not a good thing. All these people are here. The executive staff is here. Mary Kay's own security person is right over there. And all the top directors and their husbands, please, Dad, don't do this. Mom and I will be so embarrassed. Okay, you can imagine. I'm trying to drag him back. But by now he was almost completely right behind Mary Kay Ash herself. And she was engaged in conversation, sitting just peaceably and comfortably at a nearby table. And now I got to tell you, I was in a cold sweat by the time my dad got back. Oh, all this is just coming back to me as I talk about it. And this feeling of pure panic and adversity and complexity with a mixed bags of emotions, how I was going to stop this 300-pound plus man, AKA my dad. But he didn't slow down or stop an inch. Nope. He just went ahead and tapped Mary Kay on her shoulder, and she gently just slid back and faced him. And my dad said in his strong, robust voice, I'm Max Thompson, and I'm going to kiss you. For whatever reason, Mary Kay just politely stood up. And then my dad wrapped his arms around her in the biggest bear hug embrace you ever saw. and planted one right on her lips. And I was like more than shocked. I mean, more than shocked. And I didn't even know what to do. So I got to tell you though, this kiss was more than I'd ever seen my dad. I'd never seen my dad give my mother a kiss like that before. Like, so you can imagine. Crazy. All that crazy stuff is coming back to me as I even tell you about it. Well, he broke up the embrace and said, "Thank you, Mary Kay," and then started to walk back to his table. So as he was walking back, I just, again, utter shock and disbelief. And some people were looking at us and some people were looking at their plates, but I was just mumbling about how could he do something? How could he accost Mary Kay like this? And then he stopped and he had this huge grin on his face. Huge grin on his face. And he said, "Well, I did kiss her and she kissed me right back." You guys, seriously, right? Well, this experience put me on a road of how to change my thoughts so that I have a happier result and a less worried life. Here's one of the many experiences that have also navigated me on what am I thinking? How can I change my thoughts to have a better result? But let me explain this because this is a process and it has solved countless challenges and overcome many adversities in my career and in my life. But I'm just going to go through the steps so you can see some of this. Step number one, though, is when you are not in control of a situation, when you're not in control of a situation, and most situations we're not in control of, know that you are only in control of what you are thinking about in that certain amount of time. In that situation, you can move quickly from your thoughts to your feelings and then to your actions. But if you are really thinking about what you were thinking about, your feelings and your thoughts can definitely have a different road that you take. Step number two, ask yourself, how do you want to feel about this? This is an automatic for me. If I don't ask this question, man, I go down the road of shame. I go down the road of embarrassment. I go down a road I don't want to go on, feeling left out, and on and on. So now I want you to stop here and feel what you want to feel because there is a choice. You do have a choice on how you are going to feel. So I wanted to feel kind of, well, I don't want to say that then, but I did later. I want to say feel kind of proud of my dad's move, even though it was kind of strange. I wanted to feel like it was going to be funny because, if it's someday an incident is going to be funny, let it be funny faster. And I also wanted to give a generous, charitable contribution to my dad's actions. Okay. So ask yourself this next step. How can I feel differently about this? You see, I would need to chew on that for a while. How can I feel differently about it? Well, how do you want to feel about this is a really important thing to ask. And I know I've said that a couple of times, but I can't reiterate it enough. This question is going to serve you and move you much more into a positive outcome. Instead of being mad at my father for the rest of my life, now I wanted to feel free of judgment. I wanted to feel free and not be so fixated on explaining his behavior or having that incident haunt me for the rest of my life. I wanted to feel happy and I wanted my dad's personality to make me smile versus make me sad. So, step number four, this is super important. Now that you've identified how you want to feel, take action and decide what is my next step. So that's really what you ask yourself. What is my next step to feel the way I want to feel? Okay, you guys, you got it, right? Okay, so here it is. Our brain, our old brain, has always used the old ways to accomplish everything from our past. It is very practiced at attaching some pretty honed up skills with habits that we have all developed over all of these years. So to circumvent that, our brains need to have you circumvent all those years of going to the natural self and thinking just whatever it wants to think, no matter the harsh results of any of it. It's kind of like I want you to imagine in our brain, it's kind of like a bunch of toddlers running around the house with knives unsupervised. Kind of same thing. Okay. Now, this process that I'm talking about validates what do I want to feel answers. Then ask yourself again the next question, what next step can I make to feel this way? See, by asking your mind questions, it allows for positive answers. Then you are creating a world day by day that you want to live in. So these have all been extremely helpful actions to take, all because I know myself and I know that if I allow the answers to come that I ask, they will, and they will for you too. Such a positive step to take in your life to get much more positive results. But I do have a warning here. There is a warning. When you ask this question and you start to get a few ideas, don't argue about what you cannot control. Don't argue about what you can not do. So if you're getting an answer like an idea, don't argue it. Give space for it, because the space gives you the ability to trust in yourself. It also gives you a greater capacity to trust in your ideas. So don't argue yourself away out of it. Sometimes our need to be right about our first thought that we're so used to thinking, right, when we haven't circumvented it, it's kind of a hustle to us. It's kind of a hustle because it can lead us down self hurt and self sabotage just because we want to be right. Well, being right, that's a little bit of a judgment, isn't it? So being right is getting you the kind of right outcomes that you're seeking. So this way, this on purpose steps that we're talking about today is going to put energy into your actions, and that's going to result in you having more of what you want to have. Okay, you got it. So let's let your faith and your sense of adventure be bigger than your fear, right? Exactly. So today, did you learn a new way? I sure hope so. Recognize that you can do this. Don't let today's difficulties paralyze you. Be consistent in the things that you do have control over. Personal obedience, right? Staying immersed in powerful and positive relationships. Self talk and remaining faithful to who are you responsible for? Yeah, being faithful to that. Being aware of your thoughts. Boy, that's a big one right there. Just be aware of your thoughts. Can't stop anything you're not aware of. Now, these actions may seem inconsequential in the moment, but by being faithful in them, you're now laying a foundation for major growth. So don't let your obstacles eclipse God's goodness for you. When life gets tough, it's easy to let negative take center stage. Just don't do that. Okay? Now, this new hone skill that you're going to be doing, it takes some time. You have to really practice this and be aware. And when you make mistakes, just take note of the mistake, because you're 50% there, even taking note of it. Embrace these strengths, skills, and wisdom, and you're gaining right now. Yeah, you are. So when you do, you may discover that the challenges that you're currently facing are positioning you for a breakthrough and an abundance that you might never really have expected before. Now, I just want to talk to you a little bit about every leader I've ever known. Every leader I've ever known really never had all the answers. Never, not one of us ever knew the future. All played the game when they only had kind of a vague idea of what the game even was. Most of them have played hurt a lot. All of them have had their hearts broken many times and yet dared to pull themselves up. Put on a smile, love again, try again, get up again, and care again. Okay, so every one of us has stumbled, struggled everywhere in this last year and even longer. Yeah, we have. We've all struggled. We've all stumbled. But our stumbles don't need to be a fall. Yeah, so catch yourself. People will say things to you like, and they do to me, I know, and I rarely believe this. They'll say things, be grateful for your struggles. It's how you stumble on your strengths. And I believe that. But how hard is that to hear when you're in the middle of a struggle? Even though it's true. Okay, well, validate it's true. But boy, if you can give some gratitude for it, that's coming a long way, babe. It's come a long way. So no matter how many mistakes that you guys make or I make, slow the process down. You're still way ahead of those who aren't even trying at all. Your mistakes are meant to guide you, not define you. Be willing to pay the price. And that's just not a couple of times of trying. Don't just try a couple of times of whatever it is that you're working on. Decide that you are not going to quit, because commitment is really outside of moderation. So get up, You fall down 7 times, get up 8. Okay? Decide you're going to do that in advance. That way you won't have to make the decision when you've fallen down. You've already made the decision to get up. If what you are believing in and working in and creating in and the goals for are challenging you in some kind of adversity right now, it's going to change you for the good. Adversity grows you like nothing else will. So, what you can become depends on what you can overcome. Progress is often masqueraded as trouble. Now, take note here that if you are not willing, no one can help you to get willing. Being willing is a choice because do not defer your being beaten down before you get willing. Okay, I hope you got that. Don't don't defer like when you're beaten down so low, then you'll be willing. No, don't do that. Make the choice to be determined now because if you're not willing, no one can help you. But if you are determined, no one can stop you. So, opening up these next few days, I just want you to matter that no matter what the obstacle you are facing, don't give up. No matter what that obstacle is, don't give up. The challenges that you have now and will have do not have to be isolated frustrations for you to endure. They may actually be setting you up for a great leap forward that you may not have anticipated. Use the steps that I've suggested, and they will guide you through your thoughts, guide you through your feelings, and make a new way for the new actions to take hold. The world needs women like you, women of action who are not afraid to let their light shine that others can see their good works and glorify God. It's true. The world needs that more than ever, ever, ever before. The proof lies in every one of us who get up every day and live our dreams, nurture our families, care for others, and give real meaning to honest relationships. Remember again, where commitment is never an act of moderation. Commitment is never an act of moderation. All right, you guys. Okay, your assignment. Use the steps. Try them out. Catch a thought that doesn't serve you. All right, catch a thought. Ask yourself, how do you want to feel about that? And then after you decide how do you want to feel that, you put a name to it, you put some emotion to that, which will obviously come. Then ask yourself, what's my next step to making sure that I feel that way? All right, you guys, thanks for joining us. Rich Girl This Week, number 104. I'm Suzanne Brothers Varley. It's great to be your host here. Have an incredible week and watch what you're thinking about. Okay.